Well, I'm going to give you 19 reasons why you're probably going to get $400 or $500 for silver later on. And it's just because of the average awareness and intelligence of the average American. And it doesn't really even have to be the average. It has to be a significant minority that you'll be able to sell your silver to, because there ain't that many silver holders out there. Now, we do know the biggest sellers of silver that drive the price down is usually like somebody like Eric Sprott or David Morgan. I want to put that in there because those guys sold on April 28th, 2011, you know. But I want to get into these 19 reasons why the Americans will buy silver later on when they panic and they freak out. Basically, not really related to the monetary situation, but just related to the awareness level of Americans. Like, they're not aware right now, but they're going to freak out later. This is what I see. One survey found that 56% of Americans believe that it's okay for the government to track the telephone records of millions of Americans in order to keep us safe. You know, Fourth Amendment, forget about it. When Bush was president, 61% of Democrats considered NSA surveillance to be unacceptable. Now it's only 34% of them when Obama's doing the same thing, even more. 67% of Americans support the use of unmanned drones in homeland security missions inside the United States. What's next? There'll be security robots at home. Close to one-third of all Americans would be willing to submit to a TSA body cavity search in order to fly. Those are the ones you're going to sell your silver to, too. At $1,000 an ounce. If they submit to a body cavity search, they'll pay $1,000. I say that. 20% of all government workers and 26% of all Obama supporters consider the Tea Party to be the biggest terror threat of America is facing. Actually, it's probably, I think those guys are useless eaters, the government. But anyway, 89.7% of Americans believe that they're eating a healthy diet, but, well over a third of Americans are obese, so they're not eating very healthy. They're doing something wrong. 29% of Americans believe that cloud computing involves an actual cloud. That's why you can actually be able to spin the silver a little bit later to say it's got magical properties. So, yeah, even $1,000 an ounce later will be cool, right? They'll buy it. Somebody will buy it once it gets hot. This will. You know what you got to do, really. You got to associate silver with sex. Just by wearing a silver coin around here, and if you have like 10 of them around here or something, it increases your sexual prowess. Or, if you're a woman, increases your beauty enhancement and stuff. And everybody will, they'll buy it. If you can convince them, they'll buy it. It's a sales pitch. Just like Eric Sprott, right? But I have my other angles. The average American watches 28 hours of television every week and probably 500 hours of YouTube, but that's okay. But YouTube's more wide and open as far as your subject material. According to a survey conducted by the National Geographic Society, only 37% of Americans between the age of 18 and 24 can find Iraq on a map. I wouldn't doubt it. Give them a rifle, they'll figure it out. We'll send them there. Close to 25% of all Americans do not know that the United States declared independence from Great Britain. And that's a good reason why they don't know anything about the fundamental reasons and the real reasons to not have a Federal Reserve, but they won't understand what real money is. We are the most doped up nation in the world. That's right. Basically 70% of all Americans are on at least one prescription drug. And it has side effects, which makes you like a zombie in your brain, so it's not always the best thing to do unless you absolutely have to. According to one survey, 24% of all U.S. teens have sexually transmitted disease said they still have unprotected sex. Now, if you said colloidal silver, if you're in a jacuzzi with your colloidal silver, it minimizes your chances of getting whatever. That'll be another use for selling silver. You'll be throwing coins in there left and right. Sell it to them at $1,000 an ounce. Approximately 1 out of every 5 teenage girls in the United States actually wants to be a teenage mother. That's great. As I noted, 48% of all Americans do not have any emergency supplies stored up at all. Actually, that's where you might actually even make out, because a crumb of food might be worth a hell of a lot of wampum paper, you know what I mean? One survey found that 51% of all Americans agreed with this statement. It is necessary to give up some civil liberties in order to make this country safe from terrorism. Actually, I think the terrorisms are the fat pigs in some of the government areas, because they get $10 an hour and you get them a little title and they think they're God. They're working for the plantation. You know what I mean? Some of these government workers, they're working for the plantation. They think they're God. They got $10 an hour. They got a title, and they use it like a club. And it's in all aspects. They're dangerous. They're the terrorists. 29% of all Americans cannot recall the name of the vice president of the country. How could you not recall that guy? That was Biden. He originally, the Hells Angels accepted him. I don't know about that, but they did actually right before the Benghazi incident. They probably wouldn't have after Benghazi, because that shows you Biden. It's like Biden and Bin Laden, the same thing. He's a traitor to our country. In 2008, the American people voted to send Barack Obama to the White House after 4 years of watching everything go down, and we had this big financial crisis and the bailout and all this other shit. Actually, that happened during George Bush, but it continued during Obama. Same old bullshit. They left him in. Again, they didn't even vote third party. So these kind of people, they're going to be a bunch of panic-stricken freaks later on when all the markets go down. And they're going to see gold and silver don't have to go up like this when the markets go down. But if everything's going down and gold and silver are holding up better than the dollar, that's when they're going to start pouring into it. It's a small market. It's going to go ballistic. And you're going to remember, Eric Sprott and David Morgan are going to pump it up a lot. And there's a lot of idiots that'll be buying it at extremely high prices. Right now, they're not buying it because it's like, oh, it's not worth much money. Let's not buy it. Good logic. Good logic. Very good logic. Anyway. But beware later. I don't know. I was watching some presentations by Eric Sprott, and I was like, man, I don't know how people didn't see through that guy, because, I figured, well, anyway, I was going to get on that. But as Max Kaiser says, he's a silver vigilante. But, considering the average intelligence of the Americans out there, they're going to bite when the panic hits. They're going to bite when it's way up there, and you're going to have a good market. And it ain't going to save the middle class. These are the people that are going to basically be buying it. So later on, you might get that crazy amount of money for your silver. Because these are 19 reasons that Americans aren't even aware of the basics of what's going on in the country. So they'll buy high, and you could sell it to them. So, like I said, my message is for a very small minority. I'm not trying to reach the masses. You can't reach them, man. You can't. This is proof.